Today is Monday, January the 10th, 2022, and it's a great day to have a day here on the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. And on today's show, I break down Saturday's game as the Gamecocks earn their first SEC victory of the season, going on the road to take down the Vanderbilt Commodores by a final score of 72-70. Guys, I'll give my full thoughts on the game. I'll talk my biggest takeaways from Saturday's win. Also, of course, we hand out the Shooter Shoot Award, and I'll look ahead to what's next for South Carolina men's basketball. Also, guys, news and notes to get into, including Shane Beamer hard at work as a pair of welcome homes come in over the weekend. I'll break down both of those, one we know and one that is rumored. Also, of course, Dawn Staley's squad taking down the Kentucky Wildcats in a 20-point win. It feels good to be good, and Dawn Staley and crew keep on rolling. I'll highlight the victories from that game as well. Also, of course, we've got your listener questions and a fantastic throwback interview, a great conversation with former Gamecocks wide receiver Troy Williamson. Guys, a conversation I know that you are sure to enjoy. We have got a packed show here on this Monday, and of course, as always, it's brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, for all of your moving needs in the 2022 calendar year, be sure to check out our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. Of course, if you have any other questions, go to their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. Sun is shining, the birds are chirping, class is back in session, and it's a great Monday to have a Monday. Folks, hope you're all doing well. I'm Chris Phillips, host of the Spurs Up Show, as always. And some days it applies more than others. But certainly here on a Victory Monday, feels good to be good. Feels good to be good after a successful weekend on the court, off the court, in recruiting, and we're going to get into all that and much, much more here on a packed Monday show. Again, folks, I hope this show does find you well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, and sincerely to all the students who are starting back up classes today or tomorrow or sometime this week, best of luck to you all, and cheers to a fantastic semester to each and every single one of you. To those who may be tuned in who have your sons or daughters or whatever students who you sent back to campus, congratulations. You made it through fall break. You made it through the Christmas break, the winter break, if you will. And now you get to resume with your lives and do your normal thing. Either way, guys, again, appreciate you all tuning in. Great day to have a day. Sincerely, again, hope your weekend was fantastic. And we have got a lot to get into, especially when it comes to the hardwood, both men's and women's. Again, like I said, victories in recruiting. Very excited to chat with you all, guys. Before we do get rolling, just a quick update, content-wise, podcast, Daily Crow as normal this week, as you would expect. We are at Tin Roof on Wednesday, 5 to 7. This week will be much more of a normal Tin Roof show, no guest or anything. We're just going to be kicking it, having a good time at Tin Roof on Wednesday, 5 to 7. But like I said, other than that, content per normal. Something very exciting, by the way, just a random side note. This week is the last week officially that we will not have Gamecocks baseball to talk about until the end of the season. Next week at this time, we'll be starting to begin our baseball content, if you will, season preview content for the Yardcocks. Of course, next Tuesday is officially 1 month from opening day. So again, guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am at that, of course, to get things, to get to talking Gamecocks baseball again, get to talking Yardcocks. It's going to be a really good time as we count down the days to opening day, and we start to break this thing down each position by position, if you will. We start to break down in regards to our previews and just look ahead to the season that lies ahead for Gamecocks baseball. February the 18th, officially opening day. But right now, of course, guys, we're talking South Carolina basketball, and let's start with the men's side as the Gamecocks go on the road on Saturday. Get this, not just to pick up their first SEC win of the season, but to pick up their first true road win of the season in a gutsy win, 72-70, the final score. And I tell you guys, I was very surprised, by the way, going to Saturday morning, was very surprised to see the line in this one. The Gamecocks opened as a 6.5, 7, 8-point favorite, depending on where and when you got the line. And, I predicted a South kind of victory, a 3-point victory. Thought it would be a really, really close game, really, really back and forth game. And I'll tell you guys this. No matter the opponent, when you're in conference play, when you can go on the road and find a way to win, the last part of that sentence, the find a way to win part, that's really all that matters. That's really all that stands out. And we all knew coming into this game how pivotal it was, how important it was for South Carolina to win this basketball game. When you look ahead to the SEC schedule and coming into the season, when you looked at the SEC and the SEC East hierarchy and just the hierarchy of this entire conference, and games you felt like were games you chalked up as a W, games you probably listed as a toss-up, and games that, you look at and said, hey, it's going to be really tough. We're probably going to need to list that one as a loss. The Vanderbilt game, personally, even though it was on the road, is one that I looked at and said, hey, this is a game you should win. Under Jerry Stackhouse, Vandy has struggled mightily, has not been very good. And so it's one that I looked at before the season and said, hey, you need to win that one, right? Because you're probably going to lose your opener to Auburn. You need to win that one. And certainly with the chatter around Frank Martin and Gamecocks basketball and the dramatics there and some of the turmoil, if you will, you could tell the pressure was on Saturday. Now, what's crazy when you look at this game, statistically, it feels like the Gamecocks dominated. I don't know about you guys, how you felt watching this game, if you watched this game, but it was shocking to me late that it was such a close game because, again, you look at statistically, South Carolina shot 55% from the floor, by the way, only shooting those 17% from three. You look at Vandy, just 39% from the floor, however, shot 36% from three-point range. I think certainly that's what kept them in this ball game. Also, of course, free throws playing a very, very big part. Both teams shooting an even 72%. But get this, the Gamecocks shot 18 total free throws. Vanderbilt shot 36. And I will say this, guys, what's so funny? I get it. The refs weren't good, right? The refs are never good. It's like death, taxes, and I'm not pinning this on Gamecock fans, but death, taxes, and just college basketball fans complaining about the referees. And I will say in a lot of instances, it gets very hard to watch. I mean, some of the calls, you can tell these refs are like waiting for certain scenarios. They love calling the charges, if you will, the offensive fouls and throwing the hand the other way and making themselves more a part of the game than they should be. But again, guys, we talk about why is it so hard to go on the road and win? Well, that's why. That's why, because you're fighting so many different elements. You're fighting so many external factors. And I pointed out this stat, guys. It's something I didn't even talk about on the podcast on Friday. We talked about Memorial Gymnasium and how tough it was, or how tough it's been, for South Carolina historically to go to Nashville and beat the Commodores. Coming into Saturday's game, guys, get this. The Gamecocks had lost 7 of their last 8 matchups at Memorial Gymnasium. I mean, you talk about it being rough sledding. That's tough. That's really, really tough. I don't even think I realized it was that lopsided. So make no mistake, again, that win on Saturday was huge. And I feel like, at least gauging the fan base, this was one that, are you going to write home about it? Is it one that is a signature win for the season? Maybe not, but it's just one you had to have to keep your head above water. It's one you absolutely had to have. And I'm not surprised to see how this team played. Again, we talk how you win, getting wins, all that good stuff. That was a gutsy win on Saturday. That was a gutsy, gritty, had to fight it out. You have to have good culture and good character in your basketball program. And I've talked about that a lot this season. these players believe, they fight for Frank Martin. Again, you can feel how you want about Frank Martin, but you can tell this team is bought in. There are no issues on that side of things. I don't think we've always been able to say that. I think there were moments, I think there were times where you look and you say, man, I just don't know that these guys collectively are bought into what's being taught, to what's going on. I don't see that being an issue, right? I don't see that being an issue. Now, give credit where credit's due to Vanderbilt, by the way. That was a quality win because Vandy right now, they dropped to 9-5, 1-1 in conference play. They beat Arkansas, their one SEC win, as we talked last week. I don't think this was, your typical Vandy team under Jerry Stackhouse where it's like, oh my God, they're just basement dwellers. They're terrible. That was a quality win for sure. Now, just how good was Vanderbilt? Just how good of a win was that for South Carolina? We're going to find out very quickly. As again, you go throughout your SEC schedule and you play some teams that are undoubtedly better than the Vanderbilt Commodores. So you're going to find out very quickly. You're going to be able to measure yourself up against other SEC competition and again, really find out where you stack up. But bottom line is this: there's no such thing as a bad road win in conference play. And we talked a lot last week as well, guys. Your first true road victory. Was South going to continue to mess around on the road, not play good basketball, and play far below what they're capable? Or were they going to step up in a place that had been a house of horrors for them, as I just talked a little bit earlier historically, and just simply put, find a way to win? I think certainly the thing that stands out, guys, and I saw many people on social media talking about this on Saturday, was the way the Gamecocks were getting the basketball down low. I thought ball movement, by the way, was really, really good, but getting the basketball down low to your bigs, not having to settle for 3-point shots. We all understand, guys, that this is a team that you could say, it wouldn't apply in Saturday's game, but you could say lives and dies by the three more often than not. Well, you went 3 of 17 from 3-point range, and you still found a way to win the game. That right there is getting the job done down low. I've talked a lot about Jermaine Couisnard and the impact that he has. And I've said this phrase before: this team goes as Jermaine Couisnard goes. And while I still believe he's a very, very, very important piece, I feel like I'm starting to shift my thoughts a little bit, because it feels like every time that Wildens Leveque has a good game for South Carolina, good things happen. And certainly he did that on Saturday. You look at Leveque's stat line: 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, which he's been phenomenal at the free throw line, by the way, been absolutely incredible at the free throw line. 10 total points for him, 3 total rebounds, had an assist as well. Again, I feel like every time Wildens Leveque plays good basketball, the Gamecocks come away with the victory. And I think what you saw on Saturday too, people, again, we're talking about the Gamecocks able to push the ball down low and not have to settle for threes. I think it was a really bad matchup against Auburn. They had that 7'1" kid down low and just made it really, really tough. Made it really tough to get anything going on the inside. So again, I thought you saw a matchup in which South kind of matched up much, much better, much more evenly, if you will. And the Gamecocks were able to take advantage. Now, when it comes, guys, to my biggest takeaway, because again, the biggest takeaway overall from this victory is, again, just how massive this victory was. And again, you keep your head above water. You get yourself to 500 SEC play. And like I told you guys before, you need to win your home games for sure. You've got to protect your home floor. But when you can go on the road and steal a game and steal a victory, it's almost like you're picking up a game and a half, if you will. So take nothing away from the Gamecocks and be sure to give credit where credit's due. That was a huge game. Now, when it comes to within the game, when I look at South Carolina, and this is a dude that has battled injury and has he been the best version of himself? I know the guys, the play-by-play guys on Saturday talked a lot about him, but my biggest takeaway from Saturday is this: the best version of this team is with Jermaine Couisnard on the floor. There's no question. Listen, I like Jacoby Wright a lot, and I know I've made this point already before in the season, but I like Jacoby Wright a lot. I think Jacoby Wright is going to be a star. I think Devin Carter is going to be a star. I think there's a lot of young guys on this team who have a lot of potential. but you need that veteran leader at the point. You need that veteran leader in Jermaine Couisnard. He had, and it's not even the fact he's going off for 20 points per game or going crazy or anything like that, but it's the timing of his baskets. It's the minutes he's playing and the value of those minutes and when he's making these shots. Again, he only had 9 points, 3 for 8 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 2 for 4 at the free throw line, and 4 rebounds total. But again, he made some clutch shots for you down the stretch. Absolutely made some clutch shots. You cannot overstate his value, what he means to this basketball team. So again, guys, when I look at this game, what really stands out is that Jermaine Couisnard, when he's on the floor, that's by far the best version of this basketball team. By the way, getting back to the game, I praised Scottie Pippen Jr. a lot coming in that game, and he deserves it. He still deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. What on God's green earth was Scottie Pippen Jr. and Vanderbilt as a whole thinking on that last possession? And I will not lie to you guys. I don't know if it was the mind of the Gamecock taking over when that was taking place, because normally I'm a very optimistic, happy-go-lucky type of human being, whether it be in Gamecocks athletics or just in life. But I found myself sitting there watching that game just thinking to myself, God, I could see this going horribly wrong. And I guess what's so crazy again about college basketball, we sit here on a victory Monday, right? We feel good about ourselves. We got the dub. We're 1-1. All it would have taken is one shot, just one shot in the final seconds to go against us. And the entire mood of today is different. Like, the difference between victory and defeat is literally just by a thread. But either way, it feels good to be good. I don't know what Vandy, what Jerry Stackhouse, what they were doing in that final possession, but thank goodness they did it. And by the way, credit to James Reese for the defense he played on that final possession. Frank Martin made sure he went out of his way to talk about James Reese and the fantastic defense he played in forcing Scottie Pippen Jr. to maybe, get uncomfortable and do something he wasn't planning on doing. And with that being said, on that note, fantastic segue by yours truly, because we're handing out our Shooter Shoot Award. And who else but James Reese, the performance he had on the road in Nashville, 13 points, 5 for 11 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, but 2 for 3 from the free throw line and 2 rebounds as well. I tell you what, guys, he's been maybe the most underrated addition to Gamecocks basketball this year. I talk a lot about Stevie, Shooter Shoot, our guy, which he had another solid game for you. But James Reese, coming from North Texas, and of course he's a local product, but coming from North Texas out of the transfer portal, he has been a fantastic addition for you. So again, kudos James Reese, the winner of our Shooters Shoot Award for his performance Saturday in Nashville. Now, guys, what's next for Gamecocks basketball? Well, South Carolina gets right back after it tomorrow night. And of course, tomorrow's podcast will preview the game as the Gamecocks travel to Knoxville, Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. And guys, like I said, that's why the game against Vandy was so big, because SEC grind, it sleeps for no one. You're going to find out very, very quickly just how good you are. You're going to find out very, very quickly just where you stack up. And again, Tennessee, of course, one of the better teams in the conference. Going to be a challenge. We'll talk more about that one tomorrow. But again, a huge win, a gutsy win, a gritty win. You get your first conference win of the season, and you get your first true road win of the season as well at Vandy. So maybe, just maybe, Saturday's game can serve as a momentum boost. And maybe that was the one, it's just like golf. It's just like, hey, any other sport, basketball even, where you got to get that first one to go. Once you get that first one to go, then it's like a snowball effect. Maybe now that you've got that first road win out of the way, who knows? Maybe you show up tomorrow night in Knoxville and play your best basketball and pull out an unlikely win, and, then the season's really on. But either way, guys, again, Gamecocks getting the win over Vandy, 72-70. Feels good to be good. Great to go to Memorial Gymnasium and do something you have not done a lot, which is win on that floor. So again, guys, Gamecocks return to action tomorrow night in Knoxville. Tomorrow's podcast will have a full breakdown and preview of South Carolina's road trip to Rocky Top. All right, guys, we got a lot of news and notes to get into. So without further ado, let's dive into it. We're talking first football. Shane Beamer, hard at work. This dude, like I told you guys before, you know what I love about Shane Beamer? He's a grinder. He never sleeps. And the tweets that he had on Saturday just proved that even more. Because Shane Beamer, you got to love, by the way, you got to love having a coach that's so in tune with social media and knows how to work people and knows how to get people fired up. You know, I absolutely loved, of course, either way, you got 2 welcome homes. You got 2 commitments, which is great. Who's not going to be fired up for it either way? But the second one, when he posts a video, what a flex, posts the video from the beach and says, we were at the beach earlier, but we've been on the phones. We've been working. We've been grinding. I'm sitting there like, that's my freaking coach right there, man. Tip my freaking cap to Shane Beamer. Now, a pair of welcome homes. The question turns to, who are they? Well, first things first, we know one of two right now. The one known, we'll talk about that one first. Defensive end, defensive lineman, going to play buck, you think, for the Gamecocks. Terrell Dawkins coming from the transfer portal. And both these guys are expected to be, the second one is expected to be a transfer portal guy. But Terrell Dawkins, a transfer portal player from North Carolina State University. And I think a very solid player, guys, for the Gamecocks, 6'4", 245. You look at what he did in 2020, specifically as a freshman, 36 total tackles, had 9.5 tackles for loss as a freshman, and 5 sacks, which was tied, I believe, for the lead in the ACC amongst freshmen. He also had 2 forced fumbles. Now, last year dealt with some injuries, only had 6 total tackles, only played in 5 games, but a really, really nice player, a nice pickup. And I'll tell you guys this, when it comes to the transfer portal, this is how I view it. Unless you're a Spencer Rattler, we understand his impact. We understand what he's going to be for South Carolina football. You're an Austin Stogner, you know, the hype and hoopla that's following him as well, coming along with QB1. I look at a guy like Terrell Dawkins, and you look at the positions of need for South Carolina, and you look at this signing class, specifically the high school kids. You've signed about 4 or 5 defensive linemen, but you lose J.J. Enagbare, you lose Aaron Sterling. And so when it comes to that buck position, you know, you're going to need quality depth there. And it comes to the line of scrimmage, guys. You need quality depth. You know, talking to Brad Lawing last week, in case you missed that conversation on the Big Cock Club Discord, you can go check that out right now. But talking to Brad Lawing, you think back to when the Gamecocks were elite, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13, what have you. What was the biggest difference between now and then? You know, what's the biggest difference between Alabama, Georgia, that team from the upstate, unfortunately, the elites in college football, and those teams that are sort of where South Carolina is, middle of the pack, trying to break through? It comes down to line of scrimmage, guys. I've said that time and time and time again. The game of football can change as much as we like it to, but a team that can line up and physically impose its will against its opponent, a team that can line up across from your man and just move him where you want him to go, that's going to be the team that wins 99% of the time. So to continue to build quality depth, I think is a genius move, getting a guy like Terrell Dawkins, which again, guys, yes, you've signed up, 4 or 5 players, pure high school kids, if you will, on the defensive front. But anytime you can go in the portal and add a guy like this Dawkins kid that has already shown and proven he can do it at the Power 5 level. Again, guys, in 2020, 36 total tackles, 9.5 TFLs, and 5 sacks. That is a very solid year. To give you perspective, the Gamecocks' leading sack man was J.J. Enagbare with 4.5. This kid had 5 in a shortened 2020 year. So the kid can get after the quarterback. And, of course, guys, we all know on defense, the name of the game is getting after the quarterback. Also, I think we could all agree, the Gamecocks' defensive front, if you can upgrade it through the portal, you need to. You need to, because getting after the quarterback, I don't think was good enough in 2021, even with the Gamecocks defense being improved. I don't think getting after the quarterback was good enough, and certainly stopping the run was not good enough. Now, Clayton White has commented, and again, the reason I keep mentioning him with the Bucks, Terrell Dawkins speaking after his commitment, saying that they're planning on playing him at the buck position to replace a player like J.J. Enagbare, to replace a player like Aaron Sterling. So again, I do believe that's where you will see him fit in. And can he have the same type of impact that a JJ Enagbare had? I don't know. Maybe. Like I told you guys, I'm not expecting this kid to be, an All-American or anything, but certainly he does provide you with quality depth, just more bodies, more depth on the defensive front, which is, again, what you need on the line of scrimmage. So I think a very, very solid pickup for South Carolina. I know the next question you guys will have, how many years has he had to play? I believe he has, because you think about it, 2020 was a COVID year, and 2021 he got redshirted. So I believe he's got at least 3 years to play. So he's got a lot of eligibility remaining. And again, I do think he will be an impact player immediately for South Carolina. Now, the other welcome home. And for the sake of not ruining the kid's announcement, I will just say this. The second welcome home is rumored to be another defensive player out of the transfer portal. Guys, again, this is something we've talked about in the Big Cock Club Discord. If you want to check it out there, you're more than welcome to patreon.com/Big Cock Club. But just for the sake of the public airways, I will say this. I believe it's a defensive player. I believe it's a player out of the transfer portal. Not 110% sure yet who it is. Of course, this was a big weekend over the weekend in regards to guys from the portal visiting. So I think we'll find out much sooner rather than later. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But it sounds like a pair of defensive commitments coming over the weekend. And, of course, we already know one of the two, that being defensive end or buck, if you will, Terrell Dawkins. But, again, Shane Beamer and company continue to work. And I told you guys, right? Number one, South Carolina's not done yet. And number two, thank goodness that we have a coach that not only embraces this new day and age of college football, not only embraces NIL and, of course, the transfer portal, but he's going to attack it. I think Shane Beamer at every turn, if there's a guy in the transfer portal that can help you, that it's a no-brainer, his addition is going to make you a better football team, Shane Beamer is going to do it. Shane Beamer is going to do it. So, again, great weekend to have a weekend on the recruiting front when you get a pair of welcome homes. And like I said, guys, I do not think Shane Beamer is done yet. Guys, final things, of course, Gamecocks women's basketball. What a day it was on Sunday, and yours truly was in the building taking it in as South Carolina beats the Kentucky Wildcats by a final score of 75-54. Just another ranked win for South Carolina. It's crazy. We're going to get to the point where, there's not going to be any ranked teams left to beat because you're going to have beaten them all. It's wild. South Carolina was tied with Kentucky out of the first quarter, 18-18. You then outscored UK. And here's what's the craziest part. Aaliyah Boston, number one, is an absolute freak. She is the best player in women's college basketball, and it's not even close. She did not score a point in the second quarter, yet you still outscored Kentucky 23-9. Pretty hard to believe. That's just how deep this team is. And again, you take a look at the statistics. South Carolina shooting 45% from the field. Kentucky shooting just 30%. You only shot 17% from three. They shot 39%. So again, you think about how much more of a blowout this could have been if you limited them more from three or you hit more of your three-pointers. But you outshoot them at the free throw line 75% to 46%. You out-rebound them 55-37. And here's the big kicker. You limit your turnovers. You only had 12 turnovers in the game. I believe the last two games combined, you combined for like almost 40 turnovers, something like that. So a great job to clean that up as well. But either way, guys, a huge win for South Carolina women's basketball. You kind of keep on keeping on. You get farther and farther away, if you will, from that fluke Missouri loss. I think it's safe to say that was a fluke for Gamecocks women's basketball. And you look ahead now, they got a home matchup on Thursday. So, again, keep on keeping on. It feels good to be good, especially when it comes to Dawn Staley's squad, the way they're playing. It's almost unfair. It's almost unfair. Like I told you guys, not to make light of it, not to take it for granted. But as I told the guys I was with, we're just playing for something different than everybody else. The real season will start when the postseason begins. Truly. So, again, great job by Dawn Staley and the squad. Great W as well. Great W, and feels good to be good. All right, guys, let's dive into your listener questions here. We're talking Gamecocks, basketball, recruiting, and everything in between. Just two questions. Lawson Chewing says, Who do you think the Beamer tweets were about? Well, my guy, like I said, we know Terrell Dawkins, the defensive lineman or buck, if you will, from NC State. And the other one, I believe, again, like I said, is going to be another defensive player. If you just look at who was on campus this week, and I do believe it's going to be a defensive player from the portal, but we're not 110% sure yet on that. And then final thing, Andrew, the textbook just says, what a victory against a team you had to beat. Yep, you had to have it, man. You absolutely had to have it. Again, just because you beat Vandy on Saturday, does that mean that the Gamecocks are going to the NCAA tournament or even making the NIT? No, but with all the chatter around Frank Martin, and I feel like, let me put it this way, I feel like Gamecocks basketball fans on the men's side specifically are, and some of you may not like to hear this, but I think there's a lot of folks that are almost just, they're saying it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when that this thing is going to crumble and fall apart. And there's going to be a large portion of folks calling for Frank Martin's job. Again, fair, unfair. Should that be the case? Guys, I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to tell you that's the vibe I pick up. I feel like there's a lot of people that are just waiting on that moment. That's why you saw folks react so negatively to the Auburn loss, even though that was a game you were expected to lose. So we'll see how things shake out. But that Vandy game, that was one you absolutely had to have, because if Vanderbilt would have found a way to beat you, you'd have fallen to 0-2. I mean, the chatter would have been deafening here on the Monday. But at least, thankfully, it's not. We've put that off at least for some time. And again, I repeat myself, but indeed, on this Monday, it does feel good to be good. What a show, guys. What a Monday. Appreciate you all tuning in, guys. Like I said, I hope you get a fantastic weekend. I hope you're having a great Monday. And again, those who are starting up classes today, best of luck to you and cheers to a fantastic semester. But don't go anywhere, guys. I got a fantastic conversation. Great interview. One of the best all time at the wide receiver position to ever wear the garnet and black. So, folks, hey, I'm out of here. Appreciate you all tuning in. Podcast, Daily Crow, rocking and rolling, all the content rocking and rolling all week long. Until tomorrow, guys, appreciate you all and enjoy this conversation with former Gamecocks wide receiver Troy Williamson. All right, joining me today on the Spurs Up Show is a man that played for South Carolina football from 2002 to 2004, was named first-team All-SEC in 2004 by the AP, and was a first-round selection, the 7th overall pick in the 2005 NFL Draft by the Minnesota Vikings. He had a brief NFL career as well from 2005 to 2009 with both the Minnesota Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to welcome to the show former Gamecocks wide receiver Troy Williamson. Troy, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Kind of go back to your high school days. Obviously, you were a standout wide receiver at Silver Bluff, enrolled in South Carolina in 2002. But just kind of talk about your recruitment overall, the schools that were coming after you, and eventually what made you want to be a Gamecock.
Well, you had your Georgia, your Clemson, Florida, everybody up and down the East Coast pretty much. And what made me want to go to Carolina, because and not Clemson or Georgia, I wanted to go somewhere where I can play early, and that was the best opportunity for me. And it was close to home, so my family would be able to see me, and I can come home when I wanted to. So it was that's the reason why.
Absolutely. So, your freshman year, obviously you're coming in again, 2002 was your first season. South Carolina's coming off back-to-back Outback Bowl championships after going through a 1-21 type streak. I'll ask you, what was sort of kind of the vibe around the South Carolina program when you got there? Because, again, Lou Holtz had just been hired, I guess literally 3 years before or so, in South Carolina, again, getting over that long losing streak, winning back-to-back Outback Bowls. I imagine South Carolina had to be really riding a high as a program when you got there.
I mean, yeah, they were. You had your typical Lou Holtz, a guy that's hard-nosed, a tough small guy, what I would call it. I mean, but the program was, I believe it was on the up and up. And if we could have got, a few more pieces and some other things, it could have been a lot better than it was, though. But it was a great program. I love everything about USC, West South Carolina.
No doubt. So, like I mentioned, you played for the legendary Lou Holtz, obviously a Hall of Famer, legendary South Carolina coach as well. Talk about just kind of not just your relationship while you were at South Carolina, but your current relationship with your former head coach.
Well, I haven't talked to Coach Holtz. It's been a minute, a good little while. But I mean, even when I was at USC, he had a high level of respect for me. We had an incident I remember that I kind of stood up for my friend Kenny Irons at the time. We had Demetrius Summers coming in, and I was the one that kind of stood up for Kenny. Kenny worked hard. I believe that he should have been the number one back at the time. And Coach Holtz kind of called me out on it. Everybody felt that way, but I'm the only one that pretty much stood up. But after that moment, he kind of held me to a higher respect, and I appreciate everything that he done for me up until this point, even up to this point.
Absolutely. So, it's funny, you bring up a really good point about the Kenny Irons thing. I'll ask you simply because, you guys were teammates and everything. I know that he transferred, went to Auburn, and really the rest is history. I mean, he really did his thing at Auburn and balled out. What was kind of the situation behind that? Because I know through the grapevine, through just, different fan circles, I've heard things like Demetrius Summers was kind of promised the number one position when he came in 2003. I mean, is there any validity to that, would you say? Or like, what was kind of the situation behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that's kind of what it was, that he was promised to start. And Kenny kind of got the short end of the stick. So, and then what happened was that I believe that Kenny working hard it wasn't nothing that he can do to play. And Demetrius already had the spot lined up.
Absolutely. So your freshman season, pretty solid, 17 catches, 491 yards. 4 touchdowns. You actually averaged 28.9 yards a catch, which I think really kind of almost kind of summarized your career up. You're obviously a really big play guy,
right.
But talk about just kind of what led to you having so much success, because some guys come in as freshmen and sort of, obviously the game gets quicker. It's a different level of football, especially when you're going to the SEC. But what do you think was your biggest or what was most important to you having success so early on in your South Carolina career?
I mean, just wanted to be competitive and always wanted to play hard. And, just be that football player. I always wanted to be the guy to get the ball. And I just wanted that opportunity. Once I got that opportunity, I said nobody else was going to, be able to take that away from me. And it worked out well. Just being one to go compete and be that guy. That's what kind of drove me through college.
Who would you say was the toughest defensive back you faced while you were in college?
I mean, you had Miller from Clemson at the time. That's pretty much the one that stood out. I forget his first name, but Miller. And so you had Ty Hill, another guy that I played against, went to Clemson also. So some of those guys.
For sure. So, throughout your South Carolina career, obviously you played a ton of games at Williams-Brice Stadium. Were there any that stuck out to you as maybe your most memorable games in Columbia while you were at South Carolina?
It's always the Virginia game, the 99-yard touchdown. Georgia, my junior year, being able to rack up a lot of yards, and we were so close to coming out with a winner of that game. Those two games are the ones that really stick out to me as far as highlight moments. I think the Georgia game kind of put me on the scene for the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna, I'm glad you bring it up. The 99-yard touchdown against Virginia. Obviously, you guys waxed those guys that day. I think the final was 31-7, but that's obviously a play that is still lived on in infamy because I think it's still the longest scoring play from scrimmage in South Carolina history. Just talk about, kind of because, you're down there on the 1-yard line. Obviously, you're trying to first off avoid disaster from getting the safety or whatever, but was it a play where I'm sure as soon as you caught it, you kind of saw the defense and knew you were gone, but was it a play when you lined up, you thought you had a chance to take it to the house, or just kind of walk me through that play in general?
Well, I know for me, it was supposed to be a run play. And what happened was Coach Holtz changed the play at the last minute and ended up calling it slant. And I know just as soon as I caught it and seen the corner and the safety's coming, I knew that I could split them and be able to take it to the house. The guy could have still stood up, stayed up, and I probably still would have took it to the house either way.
Absolutely. No, and that was, like you said, that was a very, very memorable game as well. Have you ever seen a guy get hit as hard as the guy that Corey Boyd laid out in that game?
Oh, I still haven't seen nobody get hit as hard as that. Still haven't. And being able to play in the pros, I still haven't seen nobody get hit that hard.
Absolutely. So you mentioned 2004, South Carolina, Georgia. I remember that one very, very vividly as well. You guys were up 16-0, but I want to talk about the play that you were talking about, the long touchdown that you have where you dove in the end zone. And I want to talk about walk me through kind of that play. It's a great play by you to spin out of the tackle, get to the end zone, and then you dive in and get the unsportsmanlike conduct. I'll never forget you running the sideline and Coach Holtz kind of getting into you. What was he saying to you on the sideline?
It was just really about, just be smart. It's a big game. You don't want to do nothing that's going to pretty much take us out of it. So, extra point is pretty much a gimme. So don't mess up that opportunity if we end up losing by 1 point. It'll be because of that. So just pretty much just stay focused, and don't do nothing that's going to mess up the game for us.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some explicitives thrown in there as well. If
yeah, you know that.
No doubt. So again, that 2004 that 2004 season again was very, very good for you. Overall, your best year, definitely 43 catches, 835 yards, 7 touchdowns in the year. And like you said, I certainly think that it made a big time impact as far as where you went in the NFL draft, again, being picked 7th overall. When I talk about some of the games in that season in general, obviously you mentioned the Georgia game was big, but one of the ones that I thought stood out to me was at Alabama. You guys go into Tuscaloosa, and it's funny, you think of what Alabama is now, but you guys go into Tuscaloosa back then in 2004, beat those guys 20-3. I mean, how cool was it to be able to go into a place like Tuscaloosa where there's so much tradition? You guys, I don't think had ever beaten them, did beat them in 2001, but never won in Tuscaloosa, and be able to go in there and not just win but dominate.
I mean, it's always good, especially when you away team, to be able to go in and dominate and play some good football and run the ball the way we did it. Because I don't think I even had to catch that game. I think we was running the ball so good that we didn't really have to throw it that much. So, but it was always great to be able to go into somebody else's house and whip their behind and leave. It was always great to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So one of the things I want to touch on from the Georgia game, kind of going backwards, that you taught that I actually heard before, is that Sidney Rice, who was obviously South Carolina's go-to guy in 2005, 2006, I believe in that game broke his ankle or something, got hurt in pregame warmups and had to redshirt that 2004 season. Otherwise, he would have played in 2004. How good of a wide receiver tandem would it have been having both you and Sidney on the field at the same time? Because we obviously know what he did in his college career and then professional career as well.
Yeah, he was something else, man. I mean, I always wanted and wished that we could have played together, man. It probably would have go down as the best duo at South Carolina if we had the opportunity to play.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking the same thing. I'm sure you guys did a lot of competing in practice, because I know with two guys as competitive as you guys are and as good as you guys were and still are, I mean, I have to imagine those practices got pretty fiery as far as who was getting the bulk of the catches, who was kind of the number one guy.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, that's what you want, though. You want to have somebody to be able to push you, and that's what makes you better, especially a guy like Sidney. I mean, Sidney was a amazing athlete play basketball. I mean, so he was a guy that pushed me and wanted me to step my game up a little bit. So, I mean, it was always great to be able to compete with a guy like that.
No doubt. Did you have any sort of, I know superstition is more so, I think, for baseball, but did you have any certain maybe pregame routines or anything you did as a wide receiver? Because I imagine wide receivers are, really like any other position where it's really all mental as far as just catching the football, being in your game, in your zone. Was there anything in particular you did to prepare to get ready to play your best?
Nope. Not really. I mean, I just put my pads on the same way, but nothing that I really did that stood out that I had to do every game. I'm not really a superstitious guy, so I mean, it was just put your pads on, let's go play.
Absolutely, no, I love that. So 2002, 2003, obviously your first 2 seasons, you guys were missed bowl eligibility, and that was something, again, I talked about. South Carolina was coming off back-to-back Outback Bowls. 2004, you guys get the win over Arkansas. And again, another game I remember very, very vividly. You guys win 35-32. You had the go-ahead touchdown. Coach Simpson has the pick to seal it. Going back to your touchdown, just how, what was, kind of walk me through again, what was the play call there? Because I remember specifically, I mean, it was just kind of a little hitch where they basically just putting the ball in your hands and letting you make a play. You spin off of a tackle and score the touchdown. Just kind of walk me through that play in general.
See, I think I had a go route from the jump, but what happened was the corner blitz. When the corner blitz, I just come off the ball and kind of just settles, and then it's just me and the safety one-on-one. And to be able to make a play, to spin off a guy and score, to go ahead touchdown was a big deal. That was a big game, and we needed that to be bowl eligible. So, but even though it didn't work out because of the Clemson game, but it was a corner blitz. Savell made a great read, threw me the ball, and it was just me and the safety one-on-one, so just make a play.
No doubt. So you just mentioned Savell Newton, your former teammate. I wanted to definitely ask you about, obviously, your career. You already mentioned you're a guy that just put the pads on and play, so I don't think it probably affected you. Kind of, did it ever affect you with the quarterback carousel, if you will? Because I know while you were there, I mean, you had a ton of different guys throwing you the football, and Corey Jenkins, Dondrell Pinkins, Savell Newton. Did that ever affect the way you approached the game or approached what you were trying to do that day, or was it something where you had to get familiar and comfortable with each guy?
No, I mean, because those guys pick it up. I mean, they just throw it deep, or give me something where I can make a play with it. But they pretty much adjusted pretty much, to me. And they did an awesome job of getting me the ball. And Coach Holtz always told me, Troy, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 opportunities a game to make a play. And then that's all I needed was those opportunities to make a play. But they did a great job of just getting me the ball. It really wasn't no adjusting at all.
Absolutely. So you're talking about what, just bringing up the big plays you made. I forgot to mention at Kentucky that year. You guys win 12-7. I believe it was Mike Ray throws you the game-winning touchdown.
In the back of the end zone, yeah.
Yeah, back of the end zone there. Just talk about with you, were you always just kind of the big play guy? Was that because I talked about what you averaged per catch. I mean, you're literally looking at your career 19.3 yards per catch. So you were a big play type of guy. Where do you think that came from? Was it just is that how you were used all throughout your career? Kind of what do you think made you so good at being so clutch and making those big plays?
I mean, just want to be in the moment, want to be that guy to make the play. So, I mean, the moment was never really too big. It was just like any other play, even if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 20 and we needed to score, just give me the ball. Just give me the opportunity to catch it, and I'm going to be there for you. That's how I looked at it.
Absolutely. I definitely would say that showed on the field for sure. You mentioned, obviously, you guys get bowl eligible. The game at Clemson happens, the brawl. I got to ask you about it. I mean, just simply put, what do you remember from the brawl in general? Because we've had some other guys like Savell Newton, your former teammate, on here, and he's gave his recollections of it. But what do you remember specifically from the brawl?
Just everybody going at it. I mean, it was something that I knew for me for sure that it was something it made the program look a lot worse. When things like that happen, and obviously took a bowl game from us. So I remember talking to Coach Stockstill at the time, and this was my decision around my time to leave. And it's crazy because every team that I visited during my draft process talked about that moment, and they were looking for me to be in there. Am I that type of guy? So that kind of stuff reflects on our program and different things. But talking to Coach Stockstill, even when the brawl was going on, about me being able to leave school, and how I didn't want to be a part of that because of that reason, and it put a ding on my character. But it was something that I wish it didn't happen. So I've been able to play in that bowl game, but it is what it is.
And you weren't really even involved in it, correct? I mean, was it something more guilty?
I wasn't.
Because I remember specifically, I don't remember ever seeing you like in the middle of the scrum or anything.
No, because the thing about it was defense on the field.
It was offense. I remember Savell threw it across the middle of Michael Thomas, and it was a 4th down play, and then I think somebody shoved him.
Yeah.
Somebody stepped on him, and that kind of got out of control.
Yeah, I mean, them games always, they kind of chippy anyway, especially playing Clemson. So, I mean, and some stuff like that was happening through the whole game anyway. So, and then it got boiled over into that. So, but I wasn't even in the middle of it, and everything happened like so fast.
Absolutely. So obviously, again, the decision to leave was a very easy one when you're the 7th overall pick in the NFL draft. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But after that game happened, you get the bowl game taken away. I mean, was there any consideration of I don't want to end my career like this? I mean, I know you have to look out for yourself on the personal level 100%. But, I mean, I have to imagine all you could have wished for was to get one more chance to go out in the field in garnet and black, especially when the last game was, ended the way it did.
Right. And I mean, I know for me, because I talked to my mom, I talked to my godfather, my pastor, some people that that's close to me, and we just talked about the decision, especially when we end up losing the opportunity to play in the bowl game, that it was time, for me to make that decision to leave. So, I mean, I think it was a great decision, obviously, being able to be picked 7th overall, but it was just, and even talking to Coach Sperry, because first Coach Sperry told me I can go, he told me, if I come back, instead of being, a 1st round pick, I can be the number 1 pick overall. And even with that said, I knew it was time for me to go ahead and step out. and leave.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's funny. I was going to ask you just kind of, I know, Steve Spurrier was hired, right after that. Obviously, there were a lot of rumors going into that Clemson game about Lou Holtz possibly stepping down, Steve Spurrier possibly getting the job. Do you think that did that affect the team in any way? I mean, I wouldn't think it would, but did you guys hear those rumors a lot? I mean, did it affect you guys at all?
See, I think we heard the rumors of, Coach leaving, but it really didn't. We didn't know who was going to get the job until everything happened after the Clemson game. Coach Oates told us that he was stepping down, and they had Coach Spurrier coming in. I think that's when I found out that it was going to be Coach Spurrier coming in.
Absolutely. So you said you talked to Coach Spurrier briefly, obviously about you leaving, but were there any other conversations with him? Was it just kind of about your future, or what were the what were those conversations like with him?
I mean, we just had a conversation about me staying and the opportunity that he'll give me. And he's a great offensive mind guy to be up, and he coached some great receivers. So and I had to weigh all that in my decision on leaving or not. But it was time to step out. Even though I would have loved playing in that offense, it was time to step out and go to the next stage in life.
Absolutely. And like I said, you were the 7th overall pick in the 2005 NFL draft by the Minnesota Vikings. I know a humble kid coming from Silver Bluff High School, coming from around the Aiken, South Carolina area. I mean, just talk about that day. You get taken 7th overall. I mean, what did that mean to you? How cool was that?
I mean, you just think about all the stuff of, where I grew up at, how I came, everything I had to go through just to get to that point. And everybody, when they Google my name, they see the picture of me crying out, and I explain to them that it's just all the, me being burned twice. I got burned twice when I was a young kid. Had to learn how to walk again. I thought about all that stuff, and all it came up at that one time on draft day. But it was a great experience, man. I would never put that make another decision as far as when it comes to leaving school and being able to be drafted that high, because that's very rare that you see something like that, and for it to happen to me.
Absolutely. And I know probably it's funny because the NFL draft just happened. I'm sure whenever you see that on TV, it's something where you kind of think back to yourself and get emotional. I'll ask you though, would you ever rock some of the suits these guys are wearing now with like the half jacket thing? Like, I feel like the suits have gotten a little out of control at the NFL draft.
Everybody's trying to make a fashion statement. I just be comfortable with wearing a regular suit, But I mean, some of the stuff is nice on there, but I might rock some of it. But I just make sure I just stay in my own comfort zone.
No doubt. So 2005, you get into Minnesota. Obviously, we talked about, again, the transition going from high school to the SEC college football. Now you're going from college football to, the NFL. It's the big show. Your first season in the NFL, right. 24 catches, 372 yards, did have 2 touchdowns your first year. Just talk about sort of your transition. What were some of the biggest transition areas for you going from the college ranks to NFL?
I know for me, it was more about just being focused, mentally ready for that, being in that position. I know for me, and I talk about this all the time about me and my playing career in NFL. As far for me, I don't think I was mentally there. I wasn't mentally ready for that position yet. And even the more and more I played, the more and more it messed with me mentally. So I think that's the biggest thing with anybody. When you see a guy that's drafted high and he kind of don't figure it out, or I think it's more mental than anything, because you always have that athletic ability. It's just if you can get over that mental hump of being for me, coming in trying to replace a guy like Randy Moss, being a top 10 pick, just things like that. To be able to come in and do that. I mean, I just never really got over that hump. But then again, I would never change nothing that happened, because all that was a learning experience for me, and it was a great experience.
Absolutely. So again, you're with Minnesota. You're playing with a dynamic quarterback. Here's a name for people: Dante Culpepper, a name we haven't heard in a while, but a guy that was as dynamic as any at his position. Just kind of talk about what that was like to play with a dude like that.
Oh my God! Because when you look and you see him on TV, I mean, somebody that you watch playing, you growing up watch playing. But it was great. I mean, he was a good leader, somebody that I looked up to when I got there, and was kind of mesmerized at being able to be at this level and play with some of the caliber guys that I was able to play with.
Absolutely. So I know that Minnesota, I believe in '04, Randy Moss left. Were they bringing you in sort of to be kind of his replacement, to be that guy? Was that the plan for you overall?
That was a plan for me overall. That's one of the things that me and Coach Tice talks about me coming in and it was easy for me to say that I'm not here to replace Randy Moss. I'm just here to do what I'm doing. But it always kind of played in the back of my mind as far as this legend, this great talent for me to come in and replace that. But that was the plan.
Absolutely. So I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Troy, I believe it was your first NFL touchdown. Week 4, you guys are in Atlanta against the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
You guys lose the game 30-10, but that was your first ever career touchdown in the NFL, 16-yard pass from Dante Culpepper. Just kind of talk about, again, I feel like it's probably a flurry of emotions. Again, you talked about sort of what the NFL draft meant, just a flurry of emotions getting that first NFL touchdown, and especially getting it in Atlanta, not too far from your hometown, really. Just kind of talk about that experience.
I mean, you just look at that's what you work for. I mean, you work to be able to score touchdowns, and that's what I always wanted to do, be able to score touchdowns. I remember it was a slant and go, the corner bit, and I was able, just able to catch on the back of the end zone. And I remember after I caught it, I ended up taking the ball to my younger brother, to my youngest of the 10 of us, and giving it to him.
Absolutely. So what would you say you learned most from that rookie season in the NFL? Because, again, had a solid year, but overall, I'm sure you grew as a player. Again, you played with Dante Culpepper. Also, you played with Brett Favre, who is a true legend of the game, Hall of Famer. But you personally as a player, what did you learn most from that 2005 season?
I mean, it's that you have to be – this is a job, so you have to treat it that way as far as how you prepare in the off season, how you set yourself up to try to be successful. That's one of the things I learned is more of a job. So you get up there, you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you don't leave till 5 o'clock that afternoon. So you have to prepare that way. So off-season training, all that stuff. So just trying to take care of my body and do things of that sort.
Absolutely. So your career, again, lasted from 2005 to 2009 with both Minnesota and Jacksonville. Obviously, 2009 being your last year. What would you say sort of and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have it in front of me, but as far as the end of your NFL career, just kind of talk about your career as a whole and what sort of led you deciding to retire from the NFL.
Just me. I know I wasn't playing up to par, and I wasn't all the way there mentally. And I feel like it was more of a burden than anything. So I didn't want it to, I didn't want to try to prolong this process that I'm not playing up to my level of my ability that I have. So that's what my decision was of, being able to leave, and which it was an easy decision for me. So once I remember calling my wife and telling my wife, it's time for me to, give this up. And she made it a lot easier when she said, whatever you want to do, you can do it. So that's why I decided to leave.
No doubt. Did you ever play with Sidney Rice in Minnesota? Was he there your last year?
I did.
You did. What was that?
I played with Sidney, yeah.
I imagine that had to be really, really cool playing with your former college teammate.
I mean, it was. I mean, I was excited when they drafted him. I mean, because I remember when Sidney was first coming into South Carolina, I had him on his recruiting visit. So it was somebody that, I looked at as a friend and obviously like a brother. So, and then and it was a great experience for him to come in and be able to us play together one more time.
Absolutely. Being a South Carolina alum, obviously, again, you left in 2004. I'm sure you were able to keep up with what Steve Spurrier was doing and building at South Carolina. How cool was it to, be able to say you were an alumni, especially in 2005, when South Carolina accomplished so many firsts, like a win in Knoxville, beating Florida. How cool was that to be able to just kind of look back and, say I'm an alumni of the University of South Carolina?
It's great because I'm a diehard Gamecock. I live in Georgia, and all I see is Georgia flags and all this Clemson stuff. But it's always great to talk trash or to cheer on my team. So especially during that time when you had the Clownies and the DJ Swearings and those guys, and they really built something down there. And I love to watch. I mean, we can be 1 in 10 or whatever. I'm still gonna watch my Gamecocks. That's how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a ton of South Carolina guys right now, obviously dominating in the NFL. So I mean, definitely, definitely good stuff. I actually saw a headline today that I think Texans are looking to trade Jadeveon Clowney. Would love to get him with Carolina or Atlanta, just closer to home.
Yeah.
But overall, you know, when you look back on your South Carolina career, obviously there were a ton of moments, ton of good memories for you. Overall at South Carolina, what would you say was your best memory from being a Gamecock?
I think signing. I think to be able to sign and be able to come and come to a school like Carolina, I think that had to be the biggest moment for me. Scratch all the the catches and the yards. It's just being able to sign that dotted line and have your college paid for, and being able to play for a program like the University of South Carolina.
Absolutely. So Troy, before I let you go, because I'm gonna let you go here, but give us your best or funniest Lou Holtz story that you can tell on the airwaves.
I'm just trying to. He caught me off. I don't think I really have a funny story from Lou Holtz.
No,
he seemed like he was just always. I don't think I got any funny stories.
Well, maybe best memory then from your, besides the signing day, just kind of your best memory being at Carolina, whether it's on the field or off the field.
Well, the best I'll give you. Me and Coach Holtz had like a great relationship. So some of the things that he would do when I would catch a deep ball, he would come pick me up on the golf cart. So it'd take me back to the huddle. So that, I mean, I could say that as a funny memory, but that's the kind of respect that he had for me, and a great experience.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, Troy, appreciate you taking the time, man. Obviously, again, I think I can definitely say, speak for Gamecock Nation when I say it was an absolute pleasure to watch you in Garnet and Black. And, selfishly would have loved to have seen what 2005 would have been like with you and Sidney Rice tearing it up. But obviously,
I know, right?
A lot of fun to watch you in the NFL, and glad to hear you're a Gamecock. I'll ask you: do you still follow along? I know you said you follow along now, but have you been on campus, been able to meet Will Muschamp and his staff? Or
yes, I met Muschamp when he first came in, but I'm at 4 games a year, so I'm always
nice. Okay.
Always down there. So I'm always there. I go to Georgia every year. Every other year when they play Georgia, I'm at a Clemson game. I come down for homecoming, so I'm on campus.
Nice, very good. And I have to imagine, what are your impressions of Will Muschamp and just kind of the program he's building? I know a lot of people are pretty high on him.
We are. I mean, I'm excited for this season. I'm just ready to go now, to be able to watch some football and just how they building the school up overall. The athletic facilities that they got. I mean, it's great to see our school really be able to compete with some of the bigger programs that's out there.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, Troy, again, appreciate you taking the time, man. And again, like I said, definitely want to have you back on. We can chat some ball again.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.